Okay, cool. All right, so today I want to review secondary dominance, kind of go over that and reinforce that concept a bit. And then we'll finish up the analysis that we started last time. We've got one last case, so we'll do that again, kind of reinforcing secondary dominance. And then we'll go into secondary leading tone functions. Okay, so just to kind of review the secondary dominant thing, any diatonic triad within a key, and these are all the diatonic triads within the C major, right? So the C major triad is 1, the D minor triad is 2, the E minor triad is 3, and so on. Each one of them can be tonicized, which they call, like, we're thinking of it as a temporary tonic, not the tonic of the key, like the one chord, but let's say the D minor triad, we're tonicizing it, we're emphasizing it by using the dominant of that 2 chord in the key of C major, though. So it's a temporary tonicization, or provides an extra push towards the 2 chord. So like normally, another way of thinking of it is normally we would think of something like 6 going to 2, and the 6th chord is an A minor triad. But the 5 of 2 is an A dominant 7th chord, right? Or the 5/7 of 2. So this is an A minor triad. This is an A dominant 7th chord. So the root relationship is the same. It's just that the idea would be that this chord would have a stronger push towards the 2 than the A minor triad would. And part of that is the dominant 7th, which we talked about, like in terms of the key itself. Like if we had a dominant 7th, that would push towards the tonic. Like in the example of that A minor or A dominant 7th chord, so here's an A7. Inside that chord is this tritone, right? So inside between the C sharp and the G is a tritone. And within that tritone are a couple of tendency things, right? They have a tendency to resolve certain places. The C sharp has a tendency to resolve up to D, and the G has a tendency to resolve down to F. And since those are the 2 notes, the root and the 3rd of the 2 chord, again, it has a stronger pull towards the 2 chord. And that works for all of these. So, within this B dominant 7th is the tendency to resolve to the E minor triad. Within the C dominant 7th is the tendency to resolve to the F major triad. And again, like this, if it's just the triad, then it's just the 1 chord, right? If I have a C major triad, then that's just the 1 chord in the particular key. But if I add a 7th on top, in other words, bring a note in from outside of the key, then it's going to act like a secondary dominant. Okay? So the triad itself is just a triad, but the dominant 7th. And that's only with respect to this one. All of these other ones, like we could use an A major triad to move us more strongly to the D minor triad. But the 7th just adds an extra push, like I was pointing out, this 7th moving down by step adds a stronger push to it. So in the case of the 5/7 of 4, though, the triad itself is just a C major triad. And so if we're analyzing it or looking at it, we would just say, well, that's just a 1 chord. But when we add this note, this B flat, which is outside of the key of C, it then has a stronger push to move towards 4, and we call it 5/4, 5/7 of 4. It's not that we couldn't use 1 to 4, we do, right, as a chord progression, but it becomes a secondary function when we include something outside of the key. Right? All of these secondary dominants, and when we get into secondary leading tones, all of them incorporate notes that are outside of the key, except for 1 in minor, and I'll get to that in a minute. But otherwise, in other words, they're all what we call chromatic harmonies. They're not diatonic, they're not within the key, they're chromatic. They bring in notes that are outside of the particular key that you're in. Okay. And a way to think of it is, when you're looking for the secondary dominant, like let's say you want the 5/7 of 2, well, the root of the 2 chord is D, so a fifth away from that would be A, you know. And I'm going a fourth down here, but it's the same relationship, right? If you remember your interval inversions or things like that, like a fifth up is the same as a fourth down, and vice versa. So, like with regards to, you know, if you want to tonicize the 3 chord, which in this case is an E minor triad, you look a perfect fourth down, and there's the root of your 5/7 of 2, 3. If you want to tonicize the 4 chord, you go a perfect fourth down, and there's the root of your 5/7 of 4. You want to tonicize the 5 chord, perfect fourth down, there's the root of your 5/7. So you can always like think backwards like that. Think, what is that relationship? It's always that dominant to tonic relationship, or you know, again, however you want to think about it. But what is that note? That note is A. What is the dominant of that note? E. So I will build my 5/7 of 6 on an E. I'll just build a dominant 7 on E. So it's not terribly hard to do, but again, it requires some kind of like other level thinking outside of the key that you're normally in. Everybody okay with that? Okay. So then the one exception I mentioned in minor is this one, which, so if I'm in a minor key, and I'm using some of the typical notes, I'm going to have B natural because that's my raised 7th for the harmonic, right? And so I'm going to have a major 5 and a diminished 7, and that would all proceed as normal. But if I use the natural minor, the 7th chord built on the 7th step of the natural minor, in this case B flat, is going to be a B flat dominant 7th chord. And that B flat dominant 7th wants to go to E flat. Right? If you think of the key of E flat, what is the dominant in the key of E flat? It's B flat. Right? So a B flat dominant 7th wants to go to E flat. So if I'm in C minor, you know, let's say, but I bring in a B flat dominant 7th, then that's going to tend to want to go to E flat, and in that instance we would call it 5/7 of 3. Okay, only if it's a B flat dominant 7th chord, not if it's just, again, if it's just a triad, we would call it 7. So in the natural minor, if it was just a triad, we would just call it that, like a major 7 as opposed to the diminished 7. Right, so if it's that, then it's this. But when we add the 7th on top, again, because it starts to have this special relationship to another chord that's not the tonic, then we call it 5/7 of 3, and it's gonna 99 times out of 100 resolve to the 3 chord, which is the tonic of the related major key, right? So if I'm in C minor with 3 flats, E flat is the related major key with 3 flats, right? So there is that kind of like, again, that back and forth between minor and major. But this is the one secondary dominant that doesn't require a chromatic note outside of the key. It can actually show up in a minor key without any extra, any accidentals. So those are secondary dominants. Everybody okay with that? Can I erase this? That's what I'm at. I just need more chord space, that's all. Okay. So now I want to do some kind of like exercises, examples, to just kind of get you thinking about this, how this all works. Okay. So what is this? And it's not a trick question.
It's a D.
It's a D triad, D major triad, right? So in terms of just what it is, it's a D major triad. Okay. Now, in the key of G, how would we analyze that in terms of its function?
5.
Be 5, right? Yeah. What if I had that same chord in the key of C?
Major 2.
No. I'm sorry? What'd you say?
The 2.
Not the 2, no. Because remember, we don't, when it's chromatic, we don't call it this, right? We're now talking about something outside of the key, and so we need to describe it as a secondary function.
The 5 of 5?
5 of 5, right? Because the D triad is going to tend to want to go to the G triad, right? So in this case, we would call this 5 of 5 in the key of C. So again, I'm trying to get you to think outside of a chord in different contexts, like what is it going to look like, or how is it going to function? All right. What about in the key of B flat? What is that going to be? Good, yeah. So how do you figure that out? I mean, well, do you want to explain it out, Ryan? You want me to explain it?
You'll do a better job.
Okay. Think of it this way. What is the target of this chord? Like, where is it going to go? To G, right? So then, and it's always going to go to G. I mean, I don't know. We kind of want it to always go to G. Let's say that in terms of dominant function. So the question becomes, in the key of B flat, what is the G chord, right? Like, where is the G chord? Well, the G chord is the 6. In the key of B flat, right? It's the 6th step of the scale. Now it's a minor triad because in B flat, if we think about B flat, oh wait a minute. If I build a triad on G, it's going to be that, right? It's going to be a G minor triad, G, B flat, D. So the way to describe this is 5 of 6, like that. So we could be in the key of piano. We're in the key of B flat, and then maybe we have. Let's see what would be a good way to approach that. I'll just go right there. Then we have this. So if we do just a regular progression, this is 1, 4, 5, 1, and then I'm going to the 4 chord, and then to the 5 of 5, and then to the 6, and then I probably after that go to like the 2 chord, and then 5, and then 1. To get myself. It almost sounds like I modulated though, right? For a minute there, it almost sounds like I've moved into the key of G minor. And some people do talk about these things as like temporary modulations. It's another way of looking at it, even like in theory textbooks and stuff, they'll talk about these. That's why I was talking about temporary tonicizations earlier, like you're kind of moving into another key for a little bit. And in other contexts, like sometimes in jazz, they will actually talk about it like that, like I'm doing a 2-5-1, but in a different key than the original key of the piece, right? So that's another way. But in traditional harmony, we're kind of more thinking like the bigger picture, and so then this becomes something functioning in the key of B flat as a tonicization of the 6, not its own key for a little bit, and then back outside again. Modulation is kind of tricky though. When we get to modulation next week, or maybe, well, probably next week, it kind of depends on how much you end up in the new key, you know. Do you really move into the new key, or do you just kind of, just kind of play with it, And it can be a judgment call in some cases. But so it's two different, you just have to kind of keep an open mind on both of those, in my opinion, and interpret it, just as long as you know what's going on. Okay, what about in the key of F? What would this be?
502.
5 of 2, right? Because again, the target is G. G is the 2 chord in the key of F, so this would be 5 of 2. Okay. All right, let's try another one. All right, so what is that chord?
Is that a B flat major 7?
No.
B flat dominant 7.
Dominant 7,
Okay.
right? Because the A flat is the lower. So major 7 would be A natural. Yeah. So it's a B flat dominant 7. And what about its inversion?
Second inversion?
Well, just you can just say it out loud. Like, you don't have to use the Roman numeral stuff. Yeah. So the third is the lowest sounding pitch, right? So that means it's in first inversion,
First.
right? We'll do the Roman numerals in a minute, but right now, so we would call this a B flat 7 / D in terms of chord symbols, right? Like a B flat dominant 7 over D. Now, you don't quite often see this kind of slash stuff in lead sheets and things, because they're not. A lead sheet is intended to be sort of a guide, right? So it's very rare that they get that specific that they actually put it in first inversion, unless a specific baseline is desired. So then you might see this, but this is less common, but that's the way of doing it if it comes up in like a lead sheet, like a commercial chord symbol, is they slash and then give the bass note. But again, like you won't see this that often because the idea is normally not to tell the player what inversion to use, and might use multiple inversions, in a particular context. It just kind of depends. But that's the way we describe it. Now, if I was in the key of E flat, what would I call this? Five. What's the other part? The inversion. What's the Arabic numerals for first inversion for a 7 chord?
5, 6, 5.
6, 5. Yeah. Just kind of, again, exercising these ideas. I like to think of this actually like musical yoga. I'm trying to stretch you out in various directions, and get you to kind of limber up here, It's okay. So then, limbering up further, thinking, farther out, what would this be if I were in the key of A flat?
Two? Would it be 5-2 now?
Not 2, yeah, because again, we're going to use it, now we're going to talk about it in secondary functions. Because in the key of A flat, the B is, like, in the key of A flat, the B is not normally natural, right? So that it's a chromatic note outside of it. I mean, if you want to, you can put like a courtesy accident there. So, again, this chord comes from outside of the key of A flat.
5 of 3. I mean, sorry, 5 of 5.
5 of 5, right? So, because again, this chord's target, the B flat dominant 7th, is E flat. In the key of A flat, E flat is 5. So this would be 5, 6, 5 of 5. In other words, a dominant 7th chord in first inversion that wants us to go to the dominant of the key. in D flat.
5, 6, 5 of 2.
5, 6, 5 of 2. Yeah, 5, 6, 5. Again, the target is E flat, right? And in D flat, E flat is the 2 chord, where the 2 chord is built. So this would be 5, 6, 5 of 2, because it's going to take us to the 2 chord in D flat. C minor.
3, 5,
3, yeah, 5, 6, 5 of 3, right? Because E flat is a 3, so 5, 6, 5 of 3. Okay, let's do a sharp. Okay, so the first question is, what is that chord?
A sharp 7.
Mm-hmm. F sharp dominant 7th. Let's just be so F sharp 7. And again, just because the C is the lowest sounding pitch, we'll put the slash C just to be complete. So in the key of B minor, what would that chord be?
So,
It's 5, right? In B minor, you know, if you want to think of B minor, B minor is 2 sharps, right, like that. And so that's our 5 chord, which is F sharp, or our 5 step scales, which is F sharp. So that's where that chord is going to be built. And then if I build a dominant 7th there, C sharp in the key signature, the A sharp, because I'm raising the 7th step, the harmonic minor, I get an F sharp dominant 7th chord. Okay? So that's what this is. So in B minor, this would be 5, and in second inversion, it'd be 5. Go ahead. 4, 3. Yeah, right. 5, 4, 3.
so wait, just really quick, why is the 5? Why are we putting 5 there for?
Why would the 5? This 5?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so in the key, my B minor scale looks, I'm just doing the first 5 notes, but
But why are we doing B if it's F sharps? 7.
because I'm just kind of sort of starting with this chord as the dominant of a minor key,
Okay.
right? And then we'll move into
Got it.
second.
It's in
dominance. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm kind of, because, so now we'll see, like, it kind of just like this one, like, I started off in the key of G because this is the dominant of G, then this becomes 5 of the G chord in each of these different keys.
No, I got it now.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, no, I just was lost
Okay.
for a second because I thought.
I'm sorry, just wanted to make
I
sure.
thought she said we were in. I was still lost because I thought somehow we were in C sharp minor.
Oh, no.
That's what I heard. That's why I was lost.
Oh, okay, oh, okay, oh, okay, okay. Okay, so in D major, this would be what?
3.
No,
D major. No, wait. In D major.
D major, as in David. 6, right? Of 6. The B minor chart is of 6, so this would be 5, 4, 3 of 6. Good. And our 6, 4, well, wait a minute, sorry, D major. If we're in D, that's our 6th step of the scale B. That's our target. So again, think of it like our B is our target note now. Okay? So if I say in F sharp major, close. 4.
It is
Five.
The B is 4. C sharp is 5. The B is 4. So this would be 5. Oops. 5, 4, 3, 4. 5, 4, 3 of 4. Like that. In E minor.
5.
There, yeah.
Right, I
5.
just keep getting confused.
5, 4, 3 of 5. One more?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to overtax you, you know,
This is very helpful.
overstretch you. You pull something, you know. Okay. Yeah. What is it?
F major 7.
Not maybe dominant seven.
F dominant 7.
Yeah, because the E flat, right? Maybe
Right.
7 being
I
an
didn't
F.
write the E flat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So F7, and again, slash E flat, because we're gonna say that E flat is the bass note, whatever. And just to kind of keep with our theme, so in the key of B flat, this would be what? 5. Well, no, it's not out of anything, it's 5, 4, what'd you say?
4, 2?
4, 2, yeah, 5, 4, 2, that's what I was going for, 5, 4, 2. Because that's our symbols for third inversion, 7th chord, right?
So in the key of B flat, you said. What did you ask her? In the key of B flat.
In the key of B flat, what is this like function? You know,
Okay.
it's the dominant, it's the 5, 4, 2, because it's in the second or third inversion.
Right, okay.
So then if we think about it in D minor, what is it?
Five, 6.
Yeah, 5,
6.
5 of 6.
Right, it's the 6.
I hear you say it, you're right.
5. Fuck.
4, 2.
Yes, 5, 4, 2 of 6.
That's, okay, yeah, that's right, yeah, 5, 4, 2 of 6. But yeah, you've got the function, you know, like, it's, you know, like, of 6, because it's, oh, sorry, major 6. In the minor key, the 6 is a major, right?
We're getting somewhere.
But yeah, okay, what about in the key of A flat?
5, 4, 2 of 3.
Yeah.
Of, what?
5, 4, 2 of 3.
No,
Why not?
In the key of A flat?
in the key of A flat, what? This is heading towards B flat, right?
No. Oh.
Doesn't it head
I thought-
toward C?
Well, in A flat, yeah, but this is heading towards B flat, right? This is the dominant
Oh.
of B flat, so what is B flat in the key of A flat? Not 3, but
It's
2,
Wait,
right?
what happened here? What happened? What happened here?
Well, she said 5, 4, 2 of 3. In A flat 3 would be the C major triad, or the C minor triad, actually. But this chord's target is B flat something, right? This chord's target is a B flat major or minor triad. So in A flat, the B flat chord is the 2 chord. It's the second step of the scale. And so this would be 5, 4, 2 of 2. Because in A flat, the 2 chord is a B flat minor triad.
Just to make sure we're clear on the targets of how, like, you said that the target of this one is B flat?
Yeah,
B flat, because that's the 5th.
yeah, a 5th relationship.
Okay.
Again, either a 4th up or a 5th down, however you want to think of it. You know, when you're thinking of, like this chord's root is F. Let me put it in bass chord. This chord's root is F. So it wants to go either, you know, this way or this way, but it's going to go to a B flat. You know, like an F dominant 7th again, wants to go to B flat, let's say. Always will go is a tricky term, you know, like a tricky thing to say in music, as you probably know, but in tonal language, its target is B flat, so down a fifth or up a fourth. Yeah, either one is the same thing. Okay, what about in the key of F minor? So again, like assuming that we
5, 4, 2,
Oh,
5,
5, 4, 2 of
4.
4.
Four.
Yeah, 4. 5, 4, 2, 5, 4.
Oh,
Okay, bonus round?
okay. Yeah, sure.
C sharp major,
Okay.
but thinking inharmonically spelled. You know what that means? So maybe spell this chord differently. Same sound, different chord. C sharp major, C sharp major.
5, 4, 2, 6.
Yes. How did you come up with that? So quickly?
Well, I just thought of where C sharp is, and I just thought of where
B flat.
B flat is, and then it's not the 7.
Okay, yes, that's a good way to think. So B flat is A sharp, right? And so in the key of C sharp, A sharp would be 6. Yeah, that's a good way to think.
I would have gotten.
You'd have to spell it though, just to kind of like go through it. What you'd have to do is say that this note becomes, wait a minute, I gotta think about this. This note becomes E sharp, and this is D double sharp. No, just D sharp, sorry. D sharp. This, writing in seconds is always very D sharp, this is B sharp, and G double sharp. So the F would be E sharp, the E flat would be D sharp, the C would be B sharp, and the A would be G double sharp. You're not likely to encounter this chord very often. Because nobody really likes to play in C sharp minor that much, right? Or C sharp major, I should say. But I just thought I'd throw that out there. 6. And this is a concept that comes up later on in traditional harmony when we talk about inharmonically spelled chords as a way of moving into new keys. So if you were in, let's say, F minor, and you wanted to try and get into C sharp major, a way to do that might be to spell this as 5 of 4, and then resolve it as 6, and then move on, in C sharp major. And that is done, but again, this is a little, maybe not quite so common. This is a less common practice, I think. But you'll find that these are all like kind of standard relationships, This is a little kind of non-standard, but occasionally comes up. And again, it's good to kind of stretch your thinking about that. Okay, everybody good with that? Any questions or comments?
My only comment is what?
What? Yeah. Well, wait a minute, let me answer the what first. Yeah, I get it. It's kind of like overwhelming in some sense. But these are like I said, these are all kind of valid relationships, and I know it seems kind of like confusing at some point, but they start to crystallize, if that makes sense. They start to finalize, and then they seem pretty normal and natural. But that's where I want to push you to, is that making sense in those relationships. I kind of think of it like you're lost somewhere, like you're in downtown, you don't know which 7th, 6th flower, whatever, and then you find the one corner that it's like, oh, okay, now I can move from here. There's Koreatown, now I know where the music center is, and So you kind of have to like find your corner. And then once you find your corner, once you get more familiar with the geography, then you can navigate, right? So that's what I'm trying to get you more familiar with here. And again, it becomes just more and more natural until you're just like, you're out in the hallway, they're checking with a friend, you're like, yeah, it was a 5, 6, 5, a 5 to a 3, and the result was 6, 7. And everybody else is like, what the hell? But you're just totally into it naturally. This is what happens because you start thinking with these relationships, and it makes perfect sense. Yeah, Brandon, and then Ashley. Okay. Yeah.
So just to clarify, because I feel like once I understood the target,
Mm-hmm.
then I was like, okay, then we just have to find it within each
Right.
key.
Right.
To
Yeah.
find the target, 4th above or 5th below.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And perfect. Let's make perfect.
Perfect
fourth,
fourth.
and fifth.
Perfect 5th below.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
So wait, it's either perfect fourth above or perfect fifth under, it's the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's the same thing, exactly. I want to say it's the same thing, but sometimes students resist that, like, no, it's not the same thing. And I've even had, actually, teachers tell me it's not the same thing, but to my mind, it really is the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same relationship. Yeah. Ash?
Well, I was confused because when you were saying it's trying to go back to the B flat, either up or down, I think that's what you said.
Yeah, it's, this chord wants to go to B flat, let's say, and so, yeah, it can either go up or down. It's not so much, we're talking about the relationship of the root to something else, right? The root of this chord is F, and that wants to get us to B flat.
Okay.
So can we do one more again now?
You want to do another one?
One more.
Okay.
Yeah,
One more.
She just said the final piece that I was missing.
The target.
Yeah.
Once you have the
No,
target-
that's what I was like, okay, I get it. Every time he says the target, I'm like, we got the target right.
Right.
How I missed that one part.
Yeah, okay.
We really got it now.
Anybody got any, let's see.
But how do you know what the target is?
So you count a perfect fourth up or a perfect fifth down.
Of the 7, of the dominant 7.
Of the
Reverse
dominant.
reverse what you just said.
It's not perfect fourth up?
No.
It's-
Perfect fifth up.
No, it's perfect fourth up.
Perfect 4th up.
Perfect fifth. I drew it when he said.
Yeah.
See, look what it says. It's all got it. Those arrow signs.
Look at the sides.
I wrote it as
Dominant.
numerical English.
4th up, 5th down.
Easier.
Okay.
Small number up, bigger number down.
It actually, yeah, that's a good way of thinking.
Small
Yeah.
number up, big number down.
But let's, okay, so, what is this chord?
It needs to be F, C sharp. Wait, no, not C, G, E, C. C, D.
A minor seven.
A, yeah,
A
A dominant seventh. We're just gonna be working with dominant seventh for sure. Yeah, this is A, C sharp, E, G, right? That's A, C sharp, E, G. So it's an A dominant seventh. A.
Before 3? Or-
So let's do the target first. Like, so let's say
D
we're
for
thinking in treble clef, because that'll, a fifth up would be E, or, I'm sorry. Or a fourth up would be D, or a fifth down would be D, right?
We're good.
So this chord's target is D.
Mhm.
So if I'm in the key of G minor, oops, let me do G minor, G major. What would it be?
5, 5,
Yeah, 5,
5,
5, 6, 5. Let's do these. 5, 6, 5, up 5. But yeah, it's 5 to 5. It's a 5 to 5 function.
5. Okay.
In the key of B flat,
5, 6, 5, 3.
yeah, 5, 6, 5 to 3. All right. In B flat, the 3 is a minor chord. In how about F sharp minor.
6, yeah.
6,
5, 6,
yeah.
6.
5, 6, 5 of 6. How about in, what would be good? How about in G major? 5, 6, 5, and 5, yeah. Okay, let's see. How about in C major?
5, 6, 7, 2.
5, 6, 5 of 2. So you, right, I think the target, boom, right? So you just have to think of each chord's particular target. And then when you find the target in the key, it all kind of makes sense. But see, it's like you're talking about like what, you know, like, those relationships actually just become more natural, like an A dominant 7, well, it's gonna go to D, you know, like,
Right.
B flat down, it's gonna go to E flat, you know, like. Now, again, there are weird things that happen. Sometimes composers use chords just non-functionally. Like here's a B flat dominant 7, then here's a C major triad, you know, like doesn't make any sense. But so it's not completely like, but in most tonal music, these are the way things are going to function. The other thing is that it's possible also to have a deceptive resolution of the secondary tone. We'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah, sure.
Can we try another crazy chord like we do with C sharp?
Another crazy one?
Yeah.
Sure. Let's see. What would be a good crazy one? So what is that?
T sharp 7.
Yeah, well, a B7, right? It's just a B, D sharp, F sharp, A, B dominant 7 chord. And we can do this. And so if we were in, well, like if we were in the key of E, that would just be 5, 6, 5, right? But if we were in the key of, I gotta see, Shereen, you're making me think. In the key of G, do I want to do that? Yeah, G flat.
5, 6, 5, 6.
Of 6.
5, 6, 5, 6.
No.
3.
Well, because we have, see, I know what you're thinking with the 6. E, actually I screwed this one up. G flat is
Would
not.
it have to be flat?
Well, I know you're thinking that the E is the 6 of G flat, right? But
Right,
you
but it's
gotta
not
translate
G
it into G flat, which would be F flat.
Oh,
And then
so
it would be, but
of
F7,
2.
but we normally don't tonicize the 7 of a key, so that's problematic.
Mm.
Wait a minute, am I right? G flat, no, the F is, sorry, no, I'm saying it wrong. I'm thinking, the F is natural in the key of G flat. Why would that work?
Wait, what are we're
Well,
from E. From
Let's,
E, right?
this is why, like, so this chord, we can also spell it this way. And then it becomes a C flat dominant 7, right? It's a C flat 7.
So it's a third.
And so then the question, like, where would a C flat dominant take it? It would take us to like an F flat, right? That would be, it would be the dominant of F flat. So where would F flat show up? We could do like A flat minor. There it would be 5, 6, 5 of 6.
You did G again.
Huh?
You said A flat.
Yeah, I put it, I'm changing it.
Oh.
G flat is not going to work for us. Because in the key of G flat, the F is a natural, since the target of this chord is F flat, right? Let's put it this way. A C7, the target is F, right? That's where that chord is going to go. So a C flat 7, the target is going to be F flat. In the key of G flat major, F is a natural note, it's not flat. We have 6 flats, but F is natural. So we can't really use it in the key of G flat because it's not part of the key. But we could use it in A flat minor, which is 7 flats, and the F flat is the 6. So it would work there. See, we don't have too many F flat chords with F, keys with F flat in them. We can start talking about Neapolitan.
Is that A flat minor? A flat minor?
A flat minor, yeah.
So the 6 is lowercase?
Lower 6, yeah. The key of A flat minor is 7 flats with everything flatted, right? So the F would be flatted, F flat, and then the C flat 7 would head towards F flat.
Okay.
And so this would be 5, 6, 5 of 6, 7.
So when is it a uppercase 6 then, for the minor?
I'm sorry?
Because isn't it in harmonic minor, it's a uppercase Roman numeral 6, usually?
Oh, you're right. It would be this. In any minor, yeah, most of the time the minor is going to be 6. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we always focus on harmonic minor. I mean, not always is the right word.
Well, harmonic minor is not really going to affect the 6th chord. Remember this, the raised 7th step
Yeah.
is only going to mostly affect the 5 and the 7 and maybe the 3, but not the 6. So the 6 would, you're right, in a minor key, the 6 would be a major triad.
So usually we just look at the harmonic scale, not the natural
We
scale.
usually look at harmonic, but yeah, but again, in this relationship, the harmonic doesn't play, it doesn't come into it. Okay? All right. Cool. Yeah, it shouldn't be what, it should be why. Question.
We used to get a lot of crazy chords in harmony too, that's why I wanted more of it.
Yeah, well, especially in harmony 3, you start encountering even, that's when you should cover the topic of like inharmonically respelling chords. So, but then you have the specialized one like German augmented 6 chords or French augmented 6 chords, or Italian. You can respell those and use those as modulations. Fully diminished 7ths, you can also respell. So that's where the inharmonic respelling thing really comes into play, is in that kind of upper level chords. Neapolitans you can also respell, So like, well, no, that gets into Neapolitan, never mind. Yeah.
Can you go over like what you wrote on that side, the C dominant 7 to the F, like? more
Yeah.
different?
Okay, so a B, let's see.
I think Ashley was just saying
No.
just the C7 to the F.
Oh,
Yeah, because that's the target chord you said?
well, wait a minute, in the case of a B7 or the case of a C flat?
Just that
Or
C7
just
to
the
the
thing
F.
here? Oh, okay,
Yeah, just
okay,
that
just
C7.
that, okay. In the
So-
key of F, the dominant 7th is a C7. That's a C dominant 7th. C, E, G, B flat. Okay? So if you just bump everything down a half step, in the key of F flat, a C flat dominant seventh is the dominant of F flat. Now, we don't have a traditional key of F flat, but we can kind of move in there to imagine this secondary relationship. If we're trying to tonicize an F flat chord, which we would end up with in the key of, in the key of A flat minor, we would have an F flat chord on the sixth step of the scale. Okay? If you don't, I'll tell you what, let me say, put it, if you don't get this now, it's okay. Pretend you got lost in downtown. You found your way to somewhere, you got back to the bell, like, okay, cool, thank God, I'm home again, and then, but you can go back again and start working with that, it's, you can come back to this multiple times, you don't have to get it all today. Yes.
Oh, I was just gonna say that, for that C7 to F, I blanked, never mind.
Okay.
Lost it. Oh, sorry, I remembered it now. In commercial harmony, when we were doing secondary dominance, we would start backwards and then go to C, so rather than looking at it C7 to F, it would be like, what's F, what's the 5 of that, and then that would give you your 7 before it. So like D, what's the 5 of D in the key of D? D, E, F, G, A. A7 would be your secondary dominant to lead you to D. So rather than looking at it like left or, as you're reading it, you start here to get you back there.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense? Okay. So-
Yeah, so I'm talking about the target, right? Like I say the target of this E flat, or this B flat chord is E flat, right? But what did she say? Look at the E flat, and then how do you get there, right?
Yeah,
You know.
just another
Yeah,
road.
it's again, to my mind, it's both things. Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
Like have both relationships in your head.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, it works. I don't know. They exist. They coexist. That's what. See, I will tell you, I've studied traditional harmony. I teach it, and I teach it from that perspective. But there are other ways of looking at these things, and they're all valid.
Yeah.
And if you come up with a different way of getting to somewhere and it works all the time, hell yeah.
There's more pathways in the brain.
It's totally fine. And I would also say the more ways you can understand something, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Not just everybody must do it this way. Because I don't know. The more flexible you are in terms of your thinking, the better off you're going to be, in my opinion. Yeah, sure.
Is there a difference between temporary modulation and temporary tonicization?
Yeah, I mean, a temporary tonicization is specifically a secondary dominant or secondary function. So 2 chords, 5 of 5, and then 5. A temporary modulation can be something like 6, 2, 5, 1 in another key, and then back into the regular key again. So it's a more extensive modulation. It's a tricky subject, I will say. I mean, I'll tell you, when I do harmony 2, I try to make it really clear, so I stay away from those kind of shady modulation. This is a real full-on modulation, and this is a secondary function, and let's not get into the weeds, because it gets too confusing, I think. Okay, let's look at the last example in the secondary thing we were looking at last time. It's this one that has a kind of piano score on the bottom and then multiple staves on the top, one of which includes an alto clef. Yeah, second to last page.
In the new packet that you just gave us?
No.
No, the old packet.
The one from last
Or the, well, yeah, no, I'm sorry, I haven't had it.
Oh, this is the,
This is from last week.
gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah. Does anybody not have last week's?
Last week I have last week. Not this
You have the
week.
one from last week?
Not this week.
Oh,
Yeah.
I haven't given out a new one yet, so if you have the one from last week, you can, okay, yeah.
Is it good that I know? Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so, we're gonna start here with the arrow, because it's a little bit easier to start in this excerpt in the context of the key itself, which is A major. Okay, so we're gonna analyze this in A major. And we'll start right here, where there's a real clear A major triad, and then we'll move forward onto the next page, okay? So, as I said, we're gonna do this, oops. We're gonna do this in the key of A, and this is a 1 chord in the key of A. Or actually, yes, it is a 1/6. So notice that we're in treble clef in the piano left hand here. This gets a little tricky sometimes, so you have to be really careful. Yeah, like
I see.
piano grand stab,
Mm.
but at this point, the pianist is asked to read treble clef with the left hand. That's not an uncommon thing, you know. It's to avoid leisure lines, right? If you had to write the same stuff in like bass clef, these notes would be way up high in leisure lines, right? So the pianist doesn't need to read all those leisure lines. Okay, so we're here. We've got an A major triad here, and the C sharp, the middle C sharp is the lowest sounding pitch, so that's our 1 chord. What about this next sonority here? What is that?
Is that a D7?
A what?
Well,
No,
D7.
E7, yeah.
Oh, E7.
Yeah, it's an E dominant 7th chord. So, and I will tell you too,
Mm.
we can look a lot at the piano part. We don't necessarily have to look, because there's a lot of duplication of notes. So you can look at the piano part to get your kind of maybe your bearings, let's say, and then maybe look at some of the stuff if there are other notes. There will be, but not always. But yeah, if we look here, we've got E and D, okay? And then we've got B and G sharp. So all that together equals an E dominant 7th chord. We think of E, G sharp, B, and D. Those are our 4 notes of an E dominant 7th chord. And in the key of A, that makes sense, right? That would be 5. We can look above and we can see, like in this cello part here, there's another E and a D. In this alto clef part here, that's the G, right? That's the G sharp and that's the B. So again, a lot of duplication in the upper parts of the piano part. So it's kind of convenient just to look at the piano. So yeah, so this would be 5, 4, 2, because the D is the lowest sounding pitch at this point, and so it's a 3rd inversion dominant 7th, which then goes on to back to 1, yeah, and a 1 in 1st inversion. Okay, so then what about this chord here? Just on the first beat of that next one.
Only 1.
A 1 again, but now we're in root position, right? Because the A is now the lowest sounding pitch. So and now we come to something more interesting, right? We can see the sharps, we're like, now we have to think of what that is. So we've got G, C sharp, E sharp, C sharp, E sharp, and B.
E sharp.
So let's take it all step by step. So if we have G, C sharp, E sharp. Actually, these are all sharps, right? These are even the G is sharp. And then B somewhere in there, right? So we have G sharp, C sharp, E sharp, G sharp, C sharp, E sharp, and then the B I get up there. That's my mess of notes. But the root would be what?
C sharp.
C sharp, yeah. So if I put C sharp on the bottom, then all that makes sense, right? The C sharp and the E sharp go there, and then the G sharp and the B natural is there.
7.
So it's a C sharp
Dominant 7.
dominant seventh, right? So then we say, well, what is that chord's target? Sharp. Yeah. So in the key of A, what is that?
6.
No.
F sharp?
Yeah, F sharp. I'm sorry. What's the name of it? F sharp would be 6. I got thrown off by that. Yeah, so this would be
5. or 3 or 6?
of 6. Yeah. So it's a C sharp dominant seventh. It's in second inversion because the G sharp is the lowest sounding pitch. So it would be 5, 4, 3 of 6. Because the C sharp dominant seventh would want to go to F sharp, which in the key of A is the 6th chord. And then we turn the page and see, do we get the expected 6? So we're back over here. And yes, we do, right? This is an F sharp. I know, again, I know it's a lot of leisure lines, but F sharp, C. F sharp, C sharp, F sharp, and there's the third A there. So all of that gets us our 6. I'm going to put the A back here just so we know what context we're in. In this particular example. All right, so then we're still in the key of A. We do notice we've got a G natural now, which is weird, right? Again, we're kind of moving outside of the key. And don't forget, we're going back into bass clef here. So that's another thing to note. So now we have this chord. What is this chord here? And I think we're all, yeah, all the notes above are still part of that chord.
Is that a 1, 7? Is that like a 1?
Well, I understand what you're saying, but the G natural pulls us outside of the key of A, right? So instead of thinking of it as an A chord,
Right.
it is a secondary function going somewhere else.
Great.
5 of 4.
Yes,
Yeah.
good, yeah. Because, so this is an A dominant seventh. The target of an A dominant seventh is D. And in the key of A, D is 4. So this would be 5 of 4. Now, again, the lowest sounding pitch is the 5th of the chord. So 5, 4, 3 of 4. I'm kind of running out. And then do we get the expected 4 chord? Yes. The D chord is the next one. And then we've got another, we can see outside of the key type of harmony here, right? With the A sharp, definitely not part of the key. So what is that? We've got C, F sharp, A sharp, F sharp, A sharp, E. Well, C sharp,
5, 7, 3.
A sharp, and then E. Of what?
Of 3.
No. Or an
Oh, 5?
A. No. You're starting to get lost. F sharp, the root is F sharp, right?
Right.
Okay, F sharp is the dominant of what?
B.
B.
Yeah.
And in the key of A, what is B?
2.
2.
Now I see.
Yeah, so this would be 5, 4, 3 of 2. And I mean, I guess another thing to think about would be, could I cheat and look ahead and say, well, what is this? Well, this is a 2 chord. Oh, okay. I actually, when doing analysis, it's actually not bad to keep an idea on what's coming ahead. Because these things are supposed to make sense, right? So if you end up somewhere, you can, kind of backtrack and say, well, how did I get there?
Right.
Or if you want to think like a driving analogy, right? You don't want to be just like, oh, there's the road right there, right? But you want to be a little bit down the road, thinking somewhat. So it's not a bad idea to look ahead. Try not to get too focused. Okay, and then what comes next? So remember, we're in bass clef now. So D sharp, A, C sharp, A, C sharp. This is a little. Well, what is this chord here?
C sharp 7?
Oh, what?
C sharp 7?
Not like a dominant seven.
Okay.
No.
C sharp. Because that C sharp and the D.
The D sharp is correct. Like that's so. Well, but it's let's think bass clef here. So D sharp, right? And then A, and then C sharp. And those same notes, so D sharp, A, C sharp, A, C sharp, D sharp, A, C sharp, and C sharp. So it's all the same chord there. So these are the only notes we really have, but if you stack it up like this, and maybe imagine a note in there, what would this be?
I'm getting lost.
The D sharp to A is diminished. I mean, yeah, diminished.
Well, it's like it's
D sharp diminished.
D sharp,
Half diminished?
half diminished
Yeah,
seven.
yeah.
Yeah. And I know this is something we really haven't technically covered yet in terms of secondary functions, but if you think in the key of E major, because that's our dominant, right? We're heading towards the dominant here. Well, yeah, we're going to get there eventually. If you think in the key of E major, this is the 7 diminished in the key of E major, right? Which is our dominant. So we're in the key of A, the dominant is E. So yeah, think like target, like where am I going? I'm going to E. So how could I get there? I could use this D sharp half diminished 7th chord, which would be the chord built on the 7th step of the E major scale. So this is a secondary leading tone function. We haven't really covered that yet, but we would call this 7 half diminished 7 of 5 because we're heading towards the E chord, which is the 5. And that's, we're eventually going to get to the E chord. There's a little kind of obscuring thing here, but the resolution, if you want to think like this D sharp is going to resolve up to E. And then eventually we get to the 5 chord here, right? The 5/7 chord. So this is an E dominant 7 chord here. So this chord here is kind of a delaying action, and the way I see it is some kind of like this is a retardation. This A is eventually going to resolve up. The B is maybe more like an escape tone, or I'm sorry, the E is part of the chord. It's the E and the B are the 5th of the chord. We have the E up there. This is maybe even again some more like a appoggiatura type action. But eventually the resolution is here, in the dominant 7th chord that's there. But it's really, you really can't analyze this as a chord. Right? That's not a traditional harmony. We think of it unless you want to start talking about chords of the 4th, which we don't, it's not really part of traditional common practice harmony. So they're more like non-chord tones. But the eventual resolution is here in the 5/7, and then we get the 1 chord next. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
So one other thing I just wanted to point out, we have a 6, we have a 4, we have a 2, we have a 5, and a 1. So that all is just kind of a, right, 6, 4, 2, 5, 1, would just be a normal chord progression, right, in terms of harmonic progression. Like if we think of the progression diagram, 6 can go to 4 or 2, and once we get to 4, we can move to 2, remember? And then we can go to 5, and then we can go to 1. So what is done here is that we tonicize the 6. Remember, there would be, in front of this on the other page, there was a 5/3 of 6. Tonicize the 6, and then tonicize the 4, and then tonicize the 2, and then tonicize the 5, and then do the 1. So it's a normal chord progression, but elaborated, enhanced, let's say, or ornamented. And very often you'll find this kind of logic underlying, even a secondary function progression. The same logic that you learned in that chord progression diagram, 6 goes to 2, goes to 5, goes to 1. it plays out, it's just that, like, and again, in this case, it's just kind of elaborated, ornamented, but through the use of secondary functions, but the basic structure is still there. Any questions about that? Okay. Then let's go into we'll just start secondary leading tone functions, just kind of like, but again, if you don't get it right away, it's okay. Okay. I'd say I'm a firm believer in this kind of like, you just sort of let something stew in your mind, or just kind of like in the back of your mind, just let it settle there, and you don't even have to really think about it actively, but it will start to like sink into your brain, you know. And so even it's helpful, I think, sometimes to kind of let go of a topic and be like, let me go do something else, you know, let me go do the dishes, you know. Okay, now I can come back to it, and it makes more sense. I was reading on the radio the other day about that, about what they call it, habituation, and, you know, getting used to stuff, but it's also good to walk away from something and get into something new for a little bit. Now, apparently the effect is very brief, but something to think, I don't know. Anyway, I'll tell you, I can't tell you how many times I'm in the shower, I'm like, oh yeah, you know, that makes sense, you know. Like, whereas, you know, it wasn't even on my radar, but I think it's a thing. So don't, in other words, what I'm saying is don't beat yourself up like, I don't get it, like, yeah, I don't get it. Relax, let it go, do something else, and you'll probably get it later on, you know, after you come at it another way. Okay, so if we go back into like chords in C major, just the triads, and we looked at, you know, earlier, like how to get to some of these different chords. And we were talking about dominant relationships. Now we're going to get into leading tone relationships. Because those are the two main ways in which we approach chords, again, at least in traditional harmony. So there's sol to do, like sol, do, and there's ti, do, right? Those are our two main ways of getting to the tone. And so we're talking about secondary dominance as a way of reinforcing a chord. But we can also think about secondary leading tone functions. So in other words, if we want to tonicize the two chord, we can use a chord that is built on the leading tone to the two, which in this case would be C sharp. And what's usually done, like since the chord built on the leading tone of a particular key is a diminished triad, then we would use the diminished triad to tonicize the D chord. So in other words, a C sharp diminished triad leading to the D. Yeah, as a way of getting there. And I will also say that it's not uncommon to use the seventh as well, the fully diminished seventh chord. So triad or seventh chord, maybe the seventh chord is even more common. Fully diminished seventh chords have a certain amount of, well, they're very dissonant. So they have a very dissonant push towards a resolution, right? A fully diminished seventh sounds very dissonant, and so we want to hear that relaxation, that tension relaxation. Just to kind of get into it temporarily, like if I look at that, like a C sharp fully diminished seventh chord, inside that fully diminished seventh are two tritones. Right, from C sharp to G is a tritone, and from E to B flat is a tritone. And tritones are really dissonant, right? They're very dissonant intervals. So E to B sharp, E to B flat. When we put those two together, we get a very dissonant also, both of those tritones have a pull towards a certain area, so C sharp and G resolving that way, E flat and, E and B flat resolving that way, and together resolving that way. So I want to say they're very powerful chords in that they have a lot of pull towards a particular note. So then if we want to use a leading tone relationship to tonicize to 3, we take the chord that is a half step lower, built on the note a half step lower, in this case D sharp. We can use a triad, so a D sharp minor, D sharp diminished 7th, or with the 7th on top as well. Usually these are fully diminished 7ths. Like the example we just did analysis, we had a secondary half diminished. That's uncommon actually. The more common is the fully diminished, because it has more pull. Oh, and I forgot, so this we would call 7 diminished, and I'm going to put the 7th in there because the B flat on top. 7 diminished 7 of 2. 7 diminished 7 of 3. This one, if I, again, take a half step lower than F and I build a diminished triad, then that would be 7 diminished of 4. And if I put the D flat on top, 7 diminished 7 of 4. I can get to the 5 chord the same way. 5 chord is on G, go back a half step to F sharp, build a fully diminished 7th chord there, or what would be consistent. Let's do the triad and then I'll do the 7th like that. So 7 diminished 7 of 5. 6, the leading tone to that is G sharp, and so I built either a triad or 7th chord on top of that, and that would be 7 diminished 7 of 6. And just like the other keys, we do not tonicize the leading tone chord in this case because it in itself is unstable, so we don't want to tonicize it. We don't want to push us into something that is already unstable. So in the key of like C major, if we're doing 1, 4, 5, and then we have this fully diminished 7th chord leading us to 2. We can do another fully diminished 7th of 6. Of 2, of 5, so these we call secondary leading tone chords, all right? Either, again, either secondary leading tone triad, which would be just the triad without the 7th, or secondary 7th chord. And those, again, those are our 2 main secondary relationships. Dominant of or leading tone of. Okay? Everybody okay with that? Yeah, sure.
In the example, we had half diminished. Are you saying any of these fully diminished 7th chords could be also half diminished, or no?
Well, a fully diminished 7th chord, we would just use the fully diminished 7th, not the half diminished.
But could they also have that option? They have
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of them? Oh.
Yeah, oh yeah, these could all be half diminished, because they all are going to have the leading tone relationship. Again, in a major key, the 7 diminished, if diatonically, is a half diminished 7th. So to tonicize a major triad, this would be possible. What typically doesn't happen though, because in a minor key, we use the fully diminished seventh chord. Does that make sense? Like typically in a minor key, we encounter not a half diminished, but a fully diminished seventh on the seven diminished. And so that's more often used to tonicize these minor triads. For major triads, it's kind of either one. But for minor triads, the fully diminished. So in other words, I wouldn't use half diminished 7 of 2, but I might use half diminished 7 of 4. Because that D natural would be part of the key of F normally. And so it would show up more common.
Could you repeat that?
The D, I know the D would be a
Yeah.
part of 4.
So like, if you're tonicizing a major triad, like 4 or 5, let's say, then you might use the half diminished because that would show up in the key of those particular chords, right?
Okay.
But in a minor key, we typically encounter the fully diminished because when you raise the leading tone, like in D minor, when you put the C sharp, the B flat's already there. So you have a fully diminished seventh chord already in the minor key. So those are used more often, I would say almost exclusively for minor keys. I can't think of a minor chord that is tonicized through the use of a half diminished. Like I don't remember seeing that. But a major chord, yeah. Or dominant seventh, just in that same arena. But in fact, the important thing is the leading tone relationship, I will say. So if a composer, you wanted to use a half diminished instead of a fully diminished to go to D minor, I don't think anybody would be like, oh my God, that's terrible. It's just more like, well, that's not quite as common, or actually not really used at all. Because again, if we're thinking of like these as little little incursions into a new key, then we're going to want to use the notes of the key, and the B natural is really not part of the key of D minor, right? So we want to use stuff that's kind of native to, or part of that key that we're tonicizing. But again, having said that, the most important thing is the half-step relationship, the leading tone relationship. And so I could imagine it could occur in other contexts. Okay? All right. So then if we're writing these in 4 parts, similar things happen. So let's say, in C major, we're going to do like 7 diminished 7 of 5 to 5. Well, the 5 chord is this, right? That's the root of our 5 chord, G. And so if we want to get there from a leading tone relationship, we would use F sharp. And then we just build a fully diminished 7th chord on F sharp. I'm going to do it down here to avoid leisure lines. But it would look like that. So then in terms of voicing, like we could put the C here, and then maybe like that. So our, F sharp, A, C, E. I'm sorry, yeah, F sharp, A, C, E flat is our F sharp fully diminished 7th. We're going to move it to G. We want to follow the same sorts of functional things that we did before. So like the 7th of the chord should resolve down by step to the note of the next chord. It's not going to be the 3rd of this chord, like the dominant 7th, but it should resolve down by step. Another thing to sort of think about, although this is not, is in the key of G, this is Fa. And I talked before about like Fa to Mi. Remember the dominant 7th? So in other words, if you had a D dominant 7th, you'd want that to resolve down to B. So in the fully diminished, you kind of want that to go to the same place too, typically. I can't say it's 100%, but typically it will go that way. Because then the other thing that'll happen is then that gives the, of a place to get another G, which is what we want, right? We want 2 roots, a third, and a fifth, and that all works out perfectly with this kind of voice leading. But it could go in a different direction. The thing about fully diminished seventh chords is they are very flexible because they are true interlocking tritones. They can go in a lot of different directions. And we haven't even talked about, like, again, spelling them differently and then going somewhere else. But they can be used differently. And if you notice, like, those of you who've been in Harmony 1, like, no parallel fifths, no parallel fifths, no parallel fifths. There are no perfect fifths in this chord, right? There's no octave either. So you're not going to have parallel fifths or parallel octaves, You cannot with it if this chord is voiced like this. So there's, again, that's what I mean, like there's different ways you could resolve things and still have not parallel fifths. It would be unusual voice leading, but it could still work out. But the main thing would be, like, if you're tonicizing this with a leading tone relationship, you'd want that leading tone to go up. That would be the main thing to satisfy.
And that leading tone in the root note or in the lowest note?
Yeah, the leading tone, well, it's the root note. I mean, it's the root of the chord. I'm going to put one in inversion now so we can see how that works. But yeah, try not to confuse root and lowest sounding pitch.
Yes.
Those are 2 different things.
Not
Yeah. No, let's see. What's a good key?
E flat.
E flat? Right, E flat. Let's think target first. Like, what's a good chord in E flat?
The 5.
That's boring.
The
Something
6.
else.
No. 4.
No.
The 4. All right, the 4. Let's do the 4. So we're heading towards the 4 chord, which is what in E flat?
A flat.
A flat, yeah. So I'm just gonna, let's see, how about that? That's cool for a voice. So our secondary leading tone chord to that is going to be based on G, but let's, so it's G, and we'll use a fully diminished 7th chord. So G, B flat, D flat, and F flat. Yeah. So, but let's put it in inversion. How about first inversion? So instead of doing that, we'll do this. And so we'll do the B flat here. Oh, I'm gonna actually put a key signature, sorry. Because most of these notes will be native to the key, so B flat, D flat, yeah, and then F flat here. Yeah. So G, B flat, D flat, F flat. That's my fully diminished 7th chord. The G resolving up to A flat somewhere in here is important, right? Because that's our leading tone relationship. The 7th of the chord, which is F flat, resolving down by step to E flat, that's also important. And everything else can kind of go however you want, but this is just a really very close, smooth relationship. And we would call this 7 diminished 6/5 of 4 resolving 4. Yeah.
So when it comes to spelling out the chords and like what you see, do you suggest, you know, going somewhere else on the staff and writing out each note and looking at it there rather than, because I feel like there's a couple of times where I like said the wrong chord because I didn't see it like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How would you suggest getting better at that?
Well, two things. One, I think sketching it off the side is good. And what I always tell students, like, yeah, don't be afraid to sketch stuff out. You know, don't think everything's got to be in my head. I know I won't tell you like everything should be in your head, but it doesn't have to be there. And the way to get it there is to do this kind of thing, like to write it out. The other thing is the piano. Like, the piano is so important for visualizing this stuff. You know, like, fully this, you know, like I can see it. So maybe sitting down at the piano and practicing some of these things. You know, like, but just, you know, you can just say to yourself, okay, here's C. I'm going to build a fully diminished seventh on C. Okay, here's C sharp. I'm going to build a fully diminished seventh on C sharp. Here's D. Just go up chromatically.
Yeah.
You know, same could be true of secondary dominance, although I would recommend like going around the circle of fifths on that. You know, and see how that works out. Do a
Cool.
C dominant seventh going to an F dominant seventh, going to a B flat dominant seventh, going to an E flat. That's, people call that the circle of fourths, but that's not good. But anyway,
Okay, cool.
the keyboard is really essential.
Yeah,
And
totally.
so you should be, even though piano's like not a degree requirement, you know, you really should be in piano because it will expose you to, and you'll run across these chords in the piano piece, but like, oh my gosh, you know, like, yeah, it's a great visualization tool for theory. Okay, let's try one more. Let's do a sharp key. D. What's a good chord in D? We did 4, 6 or 2, 6? 6, okay. So the sixth chord is a B, right, in D. So the leading tone chord is going to be built on A sharp. Right? So if let me just put this a little bit lower. So if I build my sixth chord, or wait a minute, sorry, I changed my mind. I want to do something that's inverted, so we can maybe do that kind of a thing too. So my fully diminished seventh is going to be built on A sharp, right? A sharp, C sharp is already in the key signature, E and G. I'll put the C sharp there. So, in terms of like approaching that, we know that we're going to want to put the A sharp there because again we want that leading tone to resolve up. A good way to approach the D would be from the E, like that. And then if we put the G here, and we can put the C sharp here. So again, the seventh of the chord, which is G, is resolving down by step. The leading tone is resolving up by half step to the tonic. And this would be 7 diminished 4/3 of 6 going to 6. And these are, again, I was talking about tritones, tritone, tritone, right? And in this case, they are expanding outward. You know, that's the way they are resolved, so that in the bass line and in the top, the upper parts. And so when we have all that together, the reason I bring this up is because these kind of voice leading things just play out over and over and over again. I know we're talking about chords, like these sonorities, but the way the voices move also is a factor in this. How they will move happens, you know, the same way quite often. And so I think it's good to get used to how they move like that. Everybody okay with that? What do we call it quits there for today? And then, you know, I think that's enough for today. We'll do some analysis next
Awesome.
week we'll review this, do some analysis next week on this. And then we can get into modulation as well.